The Taylor Swift effect. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, share, comment and subscribe. Remember, it's all allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. In this video, we're going to be discussing Taylor Swift and the impact she's had on the music industry worldwide. Everything discussed here is alleged or allegedly. No liability or liabilities going to be taken, and this is for entertainment purposes only. So, over the past 2 decades, Taylor Swift has allegedly become one of the most dominant and influent figures in global music. In fact, there's no allegedly about it. From her country roots to her pop reinvention, indie experimentation and streaming area chart takeovers, her career reflects the evolution of the modern music industry itself. By 2026, Swift had accumulated 15 #1 albums on the Billboard 200, one of the highest total ever recorded. She was also named IFPI Global Recording Artist of the Year 5 times, more than any other artist in the awards history. Her albums have dominated global charts, with the Tortured Poets department becoming the best-selling album worldwide in 2024. This is the story of her worldwide music impact, album by album. So in terms of an era-by-era analysis, you've got the Taylor Swift 2006, a country debut featuring key tracks such as Tim McGraw, Teardrops on My Guitar and Our Song. Taylor Swift's self-titled debut album introduced her as a teenage country songwriter. The record built a strong foundation in the US country market and established her songwriting-centric identity. Through primarily a US country success, the album's singles, especially Teardrops on My Guitar, began gaining traction in international pop markets, hinting at her future global crossover appeal. This helped reintroduce her to young audiences to country storytelling, positioning Swift as a songwriter first, pop star second. In 2008, she released an album called Fearless. It was a global breakthrough, which had tracks such as Love Story, You Belong With Me, and White Horse. Swift's second album transformed her from a country star into a global phenomenon. It became her first #1 album on the Billboard 200 and spent 11 weeks at the top. Love Story became a worldwide hit, charting across Europe, Asia and Australia, and helping country pop reach international audiences. This demonstrated that country-rooted pop could succeed globally, and she built a massive young international fan base. By 2010, she released an album called Speak Now, which had what you could consider quite significant songwriting authority, with key tracks such as Mine, Back to December, Mean. Swift wrote every song on Speak Now by herself. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, continuing her streak of chart-topping releases. This reinforced her reputation as an authentic songwriter, helped normalize artist-written pop in the mainstream. In 2012, she released an album called Red. It was genre-blending pop crossover with key tracks as We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, I Knew You Were Trouble, and 22. Red blended country, pop, electronic and rock influences. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and spent 7 weeks on top. It marked her transition into full pop stardom, influenced the genre-blending style of 2010's mainstream pop. She had an album called 1989 and 2014, which was seen as a pop reinvention. Key tracks such as Shake It Off, Blank Space, Style, Bad Blood. With 1989, and I have to double check this, I take it probably the date of her birth or something, I don't know. Swift fully embraced synth pop. The album spent 11 weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200 and defined mid-2010s pop sounds, produced multiple globe chart-topping singles, cemented her as one of the world's biggest pop artists. By 2017, she had a dark pop era, releasing an album called Reputation, which include tracks such as Look What You Made Me Do, Delicate, Ready For It. After public controversy, Swift returned with the dark electronic leading Reputation. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and spent 4 weeks at the top, proving her commercial power could survive media backlash, showed how narrative and controversy could shape album eras. 2019, her album Lover, global pop success. Me, You Need to Calm Down, Lover were main tracks on that one, and it marked a brighter return to pop. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, which reinforced her worldwide commercial strength, continued her run of global chart-topping albums. Then she had an indie folk reinvention in 2020 with Folklore, Cardigan, Exile, The One. Released during the pandemic, Folklore surprised audiences with a soft indie folk sound and debuted at #1 and spent 8 weeks at the top. This proved that quieter, introspective albums could dominate global charts. It shifted expectation for mainstream pop artists. She also had another album that year called 2020 companion album success, which it demonstrated with tracks such as Willow, Nobody No Crime. Released just months after Folklore, Evermore also debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and showed the power of surprise releases in the streaming era. It maintained fan engagement during global lockdowns. Then 10, Midnights, which is 2022, streaming era dominance. Antihero, Lavender Haze, Bejeweled were the key tracks on that one. Midnight returned to the synth pop and became a streaming juggernaut. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Swift also received historic chart feats, becoming the only artist to debut at #1 on both the Hot 100 and Billboard 200 multiple times. This demonstrated the full power of streaming era fan mobilization, redefining what first week chart domination looked like. 2024 came the Tortured Poets department. Key tracks: Fortnight, Down Bad, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. This double album dominated worldwide charts. It became the best-selling album globally with 5.6 million units sold. It also topped 4 major IFPI global charts: album, vinyl, streaming and sales. Unprecedented global sales and streaming dominance boosted the entire industry's streaming and sales total. Then 2025, The Life of a Showgirl, The Fate of Ophelia, Opelite, Elizabeth Taylor. This album broke modern era sales records. It sold 3.5 million equivalent units in its first 5 days, surpassing previous records. By its release, Swift had reached 15 #1 albums on the Billboard 200, set new benchmarks for opening week sales, proved her continued dominance nearly 2 decades into her career. So across her career, she's had significant global record and industry impact. She's reshaped the modern music landscape. 15 #1 albums on the Billboard 200, multiple IFP #1 artist titles, best-selling global album of 2024. The releases have driven streaming growth and physical sales simultaneously, with the Tortured Poets department alone selling millions of units worldwide. What this did, it created genre fluidity. She moved from country to pop, indie folk and synth pop while maintaining global chart success. She had streaming era chart takeovers. She's repeatedly achieved massive chart debuts and simultaneous top positions. Global sales dominance, with albums consistently ranking among the best sellers worldwide. Her releases frequently caused spikes. There was worldwide fan mobilization in streaming and catalogue consumption globally. So in conclusion, from a teenage country songwriter to one of the most dominant global pop figures of the modern era, Taylor Swift's career mirrors the evolution of the music industry itself. Her albums have topped charts worldwide. Her releases have driven global streaming and sales, and her ability to reinvent her sound across genres has helped shape the direction of modern pop music. So that was the Taylor Swift effect. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Everything discussed here is alleged or allegedly. No reliance or liability is taken. This is for entertainment purposes only. Done talking.